So
All
Ren
right.
was not able to make it because issues. The Yakuza came and broke his kneecaps. His ISP contacted them to break his kneecaps. He was watching too much porn or something. We don't know. But instead, because of the low budget of this podcast, for the price of 2 slices of pizza, just plain cheese pizza, not even putting things on it, we have recruited JHK off the local park bench. So welcome as the fill-in host, and hopefully you enjoy that pizza that you may or may not have actually gotten.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you enjoy my sensual voice. And to be fair, I've done a lot of things for pizza, so wouldn't be the first time I've done something like this.
Oh my. Anyways, yeah, JHK, you want to do a little more of a legit introduction for who you are, what you do?
Well, I am a streamer slash YouTuber, and by YouTuber I mean I make videos on YouTube. Not like trying to say, oh yeah, I have like thousands of subscribers, like I'm like the Fine Bros trademark. But I make videos and I stream. My videos range from being nerdy book videos to nerdy movie videos to nerdy show videos to nerdy video game videos and Twitch stuff. So, just your basic everyday guy.
Indeed, and we will post a link to that in one of the link dumps for what we do. If you're on the iTunes version listening to this, click to the Blogspot page to get an accurate link dump so that you don't get garbled up shit that iTunes like to spew out for a link dump. And by the way, I just got this in. We've been copyright claimed because you reacted to my question, so this podcast
Oh,
is now apparently owned by the Unfine Not Bros.
well, it wouldn't be the first time I got copyrighted. My new YouTube video got 3 copyrights, so
Well,
boom.
this is a perfect for going into one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I've got a lot to talk about. We are technically like 3 weeks late to doing the podcast because of schedules and whatnot. So there's news that isn't new anymore, olds, or whatever you'd want to call that shit. But it ain't news. It's just the S now. But one of it
Yes.
being something that's ongoing, and it's just YouTube's copyright system and constantly attacking channels with no communication. This has happened to both smaller channels and drastically larger channels. In fact, it's hit the point where people are just doing copyright claims, filing these things without actually having any content on a person's video. I know I was watching some stuff, some Kitty Powers videos for things that, a game that JHK and myself both stream. Some of the music gets copyright claimed by a company that did not make the music. And they're just scamming for money. And this is something that's happening to, whether legit or not, it's happening to large and small companies with no communication, or channels rather, with no communication whatsoever. I mean, the Nostalgia Critic made a video about it that goes into more detail. I haven't watched it yet, but I know he's a rather large name that has had issues and has more information. But I definitely wanted to bring this up because everyone's probably aware of it, and because it is kind of a big issue for fair use copyright stuff. And this is not the first time YouTube's been on its ass for doing this.
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention the fact because I started watching Nostalgia Critic back around like late 2013. Came across his Catwoman movie review, which was gold, and I watched a lot of his other reviews since then. And over the last few months, I've noticed a lot of them have just been taken down, copyright claimed, and like even on the subject of music, I mentioned that I had a video that had 3 claims. Technically, 2 of them were actually valid. But one of them is from a company I know for a fact doesn't own the song that it was claiming. And I Googled it, and sure enough, other people have had the same company trying to claim stuff. So I don't know if it's the same one that's doing it for Kitty Powers, but there's definitely a lot of people try to claim stuff that they actually don't even own. And the worst part is they can technically get away with it.
They can get away with it because YouTube's process is entirely automated for dealing with this. It doesn't go through any sort of human investigation. The computer takes it, and it's basically you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And I've done this before. On one of my videos a while ago, I can't even remember which one, I got like 2 or 3 copyright claims. Actually, I know which one. It was one of my old One-Way Heroics videos. I got 2 or 3 copyright claims where I confronted them and messaged YouTube and was like, bitch, this isn't even the song you think it is. The song is literally listed on the top of the fucking screen in the video with the author, and it's in the game right there, and you're telling me this is something different. Do you even look at this? And within like 20 minutes, that thing was removed. Copyright claim gone. For larger things from larger companies, like say if Nintendo comes after you, one of the reasons why I haven't started putting up any Fire Emblem full streams, you're kind of fucked. Because these companies can they don't care. They can just get around it no problem.
Yeah, no, I know Nintendo was essentially copywriting a lot of people's videos, and I've been told that this isn't actually accurate, but I was told a while back that if you wanted to upload things like YouTube playthroughs of Nintendo games, you actually had to specifically, first of all, like go through Nintendo and like sign up with them to be a partner, but you also had to be just specifically Nintendo. Like you can't do anything else that isn't Nintendo.
This I've heard of as well, especially the sign-up thing. Nintendo had a sign-up thing where it's like, let's partner with you and we'll take like 75% of your money, and you're only going to talk positively about our games. So technically you're just going to be a very cheap hooker for our games, and that's it. I mean, this works for our podcast. That's why JHK's here. We got him fucking pizza. But for somebody making legit money and for the Let's Play that is free advertisement, this just doesn't work. It really, there's a lot of companies that are being very they're being very reluctant to change with the times, and it's not just Nintendo. It's easy to harp on Nintendo because for the gaming community, they're kind of the biggest, most known for doing this. But it's not just them. It's not just games. It's anything. If you make criticism about things, which legally, under the Fair Use Copyright Act, you're allowed to, you get taken down because someone doesn't like what you said. And this it's something that goes against entirely what YouTube was originally made to do. So,
one time I did a video that was like a review for like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I friggin' love that show. So it was nothing but positive. And I had quite a few clips in there. Majority of them were like 5-10 seconds long, and they each got copyrighted. And like it was literally 5 to 10 seconds. It wasn't like I was showing an episode. It wasn't like I was even showing a scene from an episode. I was showing a sliver of a scene just for promotions. And I was talking positively about it, and yet it still ended up getting copyrighted, and not even to the point to where they wanted to monetize, to the point to where my video had to be privatized and no one could watch it.
What? See, and here's the thing. That goes directly against Fair Use Act. This is something I actually learned back when I was a graphic designer, because obviously intellectual property is a big issue with the graphic design art communities. You know, a digital age where you can download everything. But back in that time, you have a legal right to up to, it's like 10% or a third, less than 30 seconds, whichever one is smaller, to use of a clip, and that's perfectly in fair use for anything. That's entirely in fair use. You're talking 5 or 10 seconds. That's within fair use easily.
Yeah, so, I've had it for videos like the Buffy video I did. For a while, I was doing videos on like Teen Wolf episodes, and I had like about 15-second clips in there, and those ones were also getting struck. And luckily, those ones, a few of them were ones that were like, "Oh yeah, you can't have this video uploaded," but then a few of them were ones like, "Oh yeah, we'll just monetize." But like when it's, I can kind of understand occasionally when it's like monetized, like it still bothers me. But when it's to the point to where literally the video that I just made, which is also discussing your product, giving you free advertisement, you're saying, oh no, we're not even going to claim money for this. We're just literally going to stop you. Like, you cannot put this up. It's really grating and really upsetting.
Yeah, because I mean, you put a lot of effort into making this, and again, if you're talking positively, they're not getting negative feedback from it. They're not getting anything bad. I mean, and even if you are talking negatively, you have every right to do that as someone who is criticizing it. So, again, a lot of bigger people have talked about this, bigger than us, but it seems that the only way to go about and really get any change, you can't go through YouTube's proper format of doing it because they're just going to ignore you. You have to sit there and get an uprising, and unfortunately, as militant as it seems, you have to get pissed off and scream it from the fucking windows of your house or whatever to get people to notice it and to do something about it, because they're not going to change unless that happens. So, any final thoughts on this? Because I know probably don't want to stick with such a negative thing. The whole fucking podcast, everything sucks. The life.
No, the only final thing I have to say regarding it is that essentially, like, a lot of the big channels get hit as well as small channels, but the one thing that the big channels have over the smaller channels is the fact that typically they have someone that they're signed up with, or they have someone to where, like, I know the Jay Witz, he makes a bunch of videos for Nintendo, and he's always been like a Nintendo primarily channel. He ended up getting copyright claims on one of his videos back in like 2014, and YouTube wasn't doing jack for him, but he like went to the people like who he's actually partnered up with, and it essentially got squared away. And the bigger YouTubers have like at least a form of protection, like they have a better protection. And like they can still get screwed over, but it's usually like the smaller YouTubers who have no protection whatsoever who really get it the worst, because they have no means of trying to like report it. You can try and talk to YouTube about it, but they're just like, "Hello, sorry, puta, see you later." Like it's just like it sucks for both the big YouTubers and the smaller YouTubers. But I feel like the smaller YouTubers, the ones who are just starting up, the ones who they're like, "Oh yeah, become like start uploading on our channel," like, yeah, become like this great YouTuber, like make videos for us. Like they're the ones getting hit the most. And like it just sucks because they don't have a way of actually really trying to get it solved.
Yeah, at YouTube, and this goes with more than just YouTube and companies, but anything Twitch or other sort of companies that require active users to make content and put on there. Basically, it comes a time when you know the company looks at you and says, "Yo, how many shillings and groats you making us, yo? I don't see no groats from you. Nope, you ain't getting support." So, yeah, there's not much that can be done for the small guy, sadly. And I mean, it's a sad thing, especially for like people who do video game stuff or just anything, but for us who do video game stuff who kind of depend on this fair use. So, speaking of games, what games you been playing? I think we should probably go a little positive and not talk about how everything in life sucks.
Well, a few games that I've been playing lately. We all know Legends of Heal, Trails in the Sky, first chapter, aka Tits. There's definitely that one. I recently acquired Terraria because of two of my friends, and that one's slowly taking over my life.
I know that feeling.
I've actually been replaying Life is Strange for like the 7th time.
Why? It's the same thing over and over again. How many times can you have Max do like dubstep remixes by going back in time with things? It's the same thing.
It's pretty much the way that like there's like some books or some shows that like I'll reread or rewatch, and like it's because I get really attached to some of the characters. Like for example, Veronica Mars. I've actually been rewatching that show. Phenomenal show. 3 seasons and a movie. Should have been much longer. But I've been rewatching it, one, as a way to refresh myself, two, as a way to re-experience it, because I really enjoy the mystery and the story. But majority of the time, it's just a way of like re-experiencing something I love. And to be fair, to an extent, it's kind of bad sometimes when I re-watch or replay or reread something because I'm missing out on the chance to experience something new.
Yeah, I don't know. With games, especially like games like Life is Strange, very story sort of oriented games, I can't play them multiple times without taking a significant break for them. And it's with books and shows and things. Generally shows, I don't really watch TV, but with like, I don't know, for a game where I get very into the story, it's the story that drives it, the mystery of what's gonna happen next. And once that's gone, it's just, nope. But you've been playing Terraria as well, which, not
Yeah.
story oriented, and a game that unfortunately has eaten like over 121 hours of my life. That was fun, if not frustrating. You will reach a point where you'll be like, what the hell do I have left to do? Oh, unlock all this, and then everything gets incredibly difficult, and you're like, motherfucker. It's
Yeah, no,
definitely a good game for friends, though.
the odd thing is, like, I've mentioned this before on stream. I've mentioned this to you before, and majority of the time, like, almost pretty much all the games I play are story oriented because those are like the main games that I like really enjoy and really love. And like, there are a few games that I've done that aren't super story oriented, but like Terraria has no story. Like, there's nothing. There's not even an intro. You literally just get dumped in and you just do whatever the hell you want, but I still am having so much fun with it. I would say I'm having as much fun with it, maybe as much as what I had with like Final Fantasy 13 2, which is a very fun game. Not my favorite game from that saga, but like a very, very fun game. And there's no story whatsoever. So like it's so weird because there's no story and I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, the game, I've described Terraria as, there is, like, I guess mini stories, like, you can kind of read into things to get stories. If you want to be like one of those hipster people who are like, the way that he does this and that, it's intricate and actually means, like, okay, asshole, put on your monocle and top hat and go somewhere else. But the game, as I've described Terraria, is kind of like a mix of Minecraft and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past a little bit. And that may seem weird at first, especially considering like the art style and the perspective that it's in. But you think about it, you have the crafting and everything, you have the bosses that seem very kind of Legend of Zelda-like, many of them, probably a little more difficult. It might be in, I don't want to say in difficulty leaning towards Yiz tier. That's reserved for insanely difficult shit. Terraria is nowhere near that difficult, but it's not as easy as a lot of the Legend of Zelda things, so it definitely has that feel, though, with the bosses. Also, just like to point out that my roommate walked into the fucking room, turned off the heat, opened the window, and just left. Like, okay, now everyone outside the window can hear us speak. Cool.
Wait, what happened?
I don't know, he just walked in and was like, nope, open it, leave. Okay, whatever. Fair enough. But yeah, any other games you've been playing too besides Terraria, or has that just, and Life is Strange, or is those just taken over your entire brain?
I mean, not so much just those ones. I have been like playing other ones. I've been kind of playing Kingdom Hearts off stream, mostly because I don't actually possess the PS3 right now. So I've been playing them like through other means off stream, just as a way of like kind of going through them. Usually, like when I'm bored, and the weird thing is, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, but majority of the time, there are some YouTube videos I can't actually sit down and watch. I'll have to have them on in the background while I'm doing something else. So whenever I'm trying to catch up on someone's videos or watch something I've been wanting to watch, I'll load up a game and it'll be one where like maybe I need to grind, or one where I just like kind of want to like mess around for a bit, just kind of dick around and do something while I'm listening to these things. And so when I've been like listening to certain videos, I've just been like loading up that game and just being like, okay, yeah, let's go beat up some Heartless.
You know, I'm the same way when it comes to YouTube videos. I literally, if I try to sit down and watch one, even if someone who I really like watching, or it's something that I really like watching, I'm going to be fucking taking a dirt nap by 30 minutes in. I cannot focus on one thing anymore. I have programmed my brain so much to multitask and just do various things all at once that if I try to just focus on one thing, I just fall asleep. My brain's like, no, you can't put this much effort on one thing. Take a nap, asshole. It makes no sense.
Yeah, no, like I think for the most part, there's been like some exceptions, like your stream and then Rev's stream of Kitty Powers. Those ones I actually sat down. I sat down and watched them. I'm actually like lied down and watched them on my TV, and like I just like got myself real comfy, and I was able to watch them in whole. Like there's some exceptions, but for the most part, I typically cannot do it. Like I it has to be on in the background while I'm doing something else.
The only time when I can focus on a particular like video media sort of thing and just singularly focus on it is when I'm eating. So even then I'm putting some amount of thought into eating because that obviously requires thought. Eating's a sacred thing, man. So the act of picking up the pizza and putting it in your mouth, this is a holy thing comparable to crucifixions and Buddha becoming the Buddha. It's really, truly a holy endeavor. But, you know, in terms of games, for me, basically the things I've been streaming are the only games I play. I play a bit of Isaac off stream just to, you know, when I'm watching something, don't have really much to do, I'll sit there and faff about an Isaac. I've noticed that I do considerably worse off stream than I do on stream, which I'm somewhat happy about because then you don't get to see me completely be shit-faced at the game, which would be horrible. There are points when I've died in like the third or second room of the first floor, and I'm just like, man, glad this ain't streaming. Wouldn't that be cute to see? This is like Sonic Racers tier bad.
Yeah, no, I remember you mentioned that because while you were streaming it, you were like doing really good, and then later on you mentioned you were like, "Yeah, I got totally Shrek'd off stream."
Yeah, like I loaded up the stream, and if you paid attention, it showed win streak -4. I'm like, that's a good win streak, man. Might as well just keep it as lose streak because that's what it usually is. I don't think I've ever gotten more than a 2 win streak. It's ugly. But outside of that, the stuff that I've been streaming is pretty much what I've been playing. Started Dragon's Dogma, aka Dan and Dan.
Perfect Adventures.
Oh my god, the character creation in that game. Games that give you character creation can always go in one of two directions with me. Either I'm gonna make a badass looking character, or I'm gonna make a complete abomination. This one got the latter.
No matter what game, character creation, that's pretty much the route I will go as well. You saw the character that I created for the 2 seconds that we did Blade and Soul before we realized that it's a pay-to-play game.
A pay-to-play game? It's a pay-to-even look at the server game.
Oh yeah. Like I went out of my way to design what I thought was a really like legit like badass character. And I couldn't even fucking use it. But like majority of the time I will do like a character that I will like do as badass or a character who will just look ridiculous and amazing at the same time and everyone will think it is the funniest thing ever. Like, the only times that I've ever noticed that character creation means absolutely nothing, and this is just from what I've seen on stream of it, is the Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. Because you get to essentially mess around with your character, and then it serves no purpose in the prologue.
It doesn't serve purpose. I think online, for Metal Gear Online, that's how you show up. But really, who the hell cares, honestly? You're too busy shooting people, or I think you can get skins to make you look like something else. Somebody had a fucking octopus on their head at one point, so you've got, like, Splatoon tier squid kids running around shooting you. I mean, no one cares what you look like online, which is fine, to be honest. I much prefer Metal Gear, you play as Snake.
Oh, yeah.
I need to find the Metal Gear and a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. Terrible Dave Hayter voice. So you get to play as him, or, you know, not Dave Hayter voice. Miller, we need to go and stop Skullface. I'm gonna need support for this. You get to play Keith or Sutherland, which, over the course of the game, his voice got a little better on me, but I still, Dave Hayter's weird way of annotating certain words makes it amusing for me.
Yeah, see, the only Snake I'm used to is Kiefer Sutherland Snake, and I'm partial to Kiefer Sutherland because I've seen him in a lot of movies where I loved him in them. I also started 24 a little bit back, and I friggin' was enjoying every second I saw of it. So I legitimately, like, the only one I'm used to is Kiefer Sutherland, and he sounds like amazeballs to me.
I think he pulls the job off well. I think if Dave Hayter wasn't such an iconic figure in the Metal Gear voicing, I think he would be a perfectly fine replacement, because I do think he does it well enough. I am somewhat annoyed that there's virtually no real dialogue of him. He says like maybe a quality 100 words the entire fucking game. So, I don't know, maybe all the money went to just like courting him to get him to actually do the voicing or something. I don't know the details. We need to buy him sweet dinners at night and sing songs with our sultry voices to him so he can sleep, or whatever they did to get him to do it.
Should have taken him to the Jerk King. Perfect place to take him. Take him on a date there. Mm-hmm.
Talk about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, Kitty Powers. That's another game that we streamed a little bit of. Oh.
It's a wonderful game. I have never played a game like it that has been able to function, be entertaining, and say that I actually am proud I put money into it.
I will say, despite being utterly embarrassed about owning a game like that, like I'm just like, please don't show up on Steam. No, not an achievement. Oh, everyone gets to see this.
Achievements and stickers.
Oh god, yes. Oh, everything. The thing just shows up there. And how many hours I have into it, which thankfully is not much at the moment. But it will become more, sadly. It is a game that, despite all of that, it really does its job well. For a game that is basically about you doing matchmaking, since it's called Kitty Powers Matchmaker, you're just putting people on dates and leading them through the dates. It's essentially Hitch, the game.
Mm-hmm.
It functions well and does it better than any other sort of dating sim kind of thing I've seen personally. It's better than a visual novel. It's enjoyable to do. Some of the characters are fucking bizarre, so it's really amusing.
Do you want to talk about collecting collecting skull girl?
I think first we must greet our fellow humans, though.
Greetings, fellow humans.
Oh god, yeah. I like to collect skulls.
The dialogue and the choices in that game, the interests. Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, some of the interests. A girl who enjoys collecting skulls, and the worst thing is, everyone who I fucking told that to was like, sounds cool, I like it. Yeah, I collect satanic trinkets. Maybe we can get together and summon Cthulhu. Like, okay. I'm sure that relationship's gonna go well when, you end up in a body bag. Don't come crying back to me.
Oh yeah, no, she's definitely gonna collect his skull.
Oh god, it's gonna be Darkest Dungeon tier, the collector type mess going on in here. It's... But again, as embarrassing as it is, the game's actually competent.
Oh yeah.
And that to me is good. But it's just embarrassing.
I love the fact, because I was legitimately worried about this. I thought that even though it was a competent game, there'd be a way to where like you could like, and there's nothing wrong with this with certain games that do this, but I thought it was going to be one of those extreme ones where you have to essentially actually pay to win, like to buy more coins, to buy people like to date, to buy people to like send out on dates and stuff. I thought you were going to have to put legitimate money in it, like microtransactions. And for some games, it's excusable, like ones that don't depend on them. But this game has no microtransactions. You don't put a dime in other than what you do to buy it.
Yes, and for a game, honestly, I'm not sure if this game was originally a mobile platform, but you would think it would be, because it definitely seems like it could fit on a mobile platform and be a fun little thing to, take out while you're on the train or, going to wherever. But it doesn't have microtransactions at all. And that to me is like you said, it's great because it does function. It seems like a game that would sneak microtransactions into you, and it's
Exactly.
great though. It doesn't. So I just forgot where I was going with that train of thought, other than the fact that microtransactions aren't there, and that's great. Good, good fucking job, man.
Well, I mean, essentially, we were just talking about the games that we were playing, and
Yeah.
how great the dialogue is in Kitty Powers.
Oh god, the dialogue in Kitty Powers. No. Like the waiter, I'm here to take your order. Nice going. Like, really?
Yeah, the waiter comes over and says, "I'm here to take your order," and the character responds, and it seemed to only ever be with mine, because I haven't seen one of your characters respond to a waiter with this. They'll be like, "Hi, I'm here to take your order." Nice going, the character will say. How is like, oh yeah, nice going. Thank you for doing your job. Thank you for coming over here to take my order. Nice going. Yeah, yeah. You know what? You're getting more than 5% of a tip. You're getting 6%.
Oh god. Yeah, the characters that want to tip 5%, and then when you don't give them that tip, they're like, no, why didn't you take my suggestions? Like, maybe because you're a fucking Scrooge.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've seen me say this on stream. I think it is so shitty that, like, they're like, oh yeah, let's tip 5%. Like, I will, unless I'm literally, like, desperate to make a couple happen and just lie my pants off, I will purposely give that character, whoever at the waiter, I will purposely give them the biggest option we get as a tip. Like, if we could key in an actual option, like, whenever we spend like $34 or we spend $40, I would key in like $5 or $10. Like, that's what I would key in. And like, it does it on percentages though, and you don't get to key in anything, so you have to choose. But I will purposely give them the biggest tip I can, unless the character is like, oh yeah, we should tip 15, or oh yeah, we should tip 20. Then I'm like, ooh, you a good soul. Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Yo, man, you got change for a quarter? Like, I'm half expecting that to be a tip. I would like to see us go to like one of those restaurants, get like a $15 meal, you know, when we just buy fries as a full meal, because apparently just fries are a full meal in that game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some big ass fries. Pay like $15 and then have like a 5% tip. Like what is that?
Let's see, 5% of $15. Isn't that
It's
like something like?
$3.50.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not very much.
Yeah, it's like $3.75 or something like that. Here you go. It's like, man, at that point, we could have just spent the if you didn't want to pay that much money, we could have literally just used the $3.75 to go buy French fries and make them at home, or buy a peanut butter and jelly and make it at home. Legit.
I mean, if for that much, you could still go out and get something. You could go out and like get McDonald's fries. You could get multiple McDonald's fries for that tip amount. Like, if you're really being that much of a cheapskate, just go to like fucking McDonald's.
Which, I mean, if you're going to a restaurant, taking your date there and just buying a peanut butter and jelly,
oh yeah,
I mean, maybe you need to reconsider your moves, man. You need to step it up.
the worst part is when the person you're dating in that game likes what you choose. If it's such an awful option, but it's the only one on the menu that they will go for, they'll be like, oh my god, you so get me. Or when they give you like they give you the weirdest like things that they like, oh yeah, I don't like this, this, and this. But then the menu, you have to literally, you have to use your own money to see what is actually in the food.
The menu, the menu is like coded to the point that you need your Captain Crunch decoder pin just to fucking understand what these things are, especially at the advanced levels of like your French and Italian restaurants where you don't even get English words anymore. Like words they could just say a vegetarian pizza. No, they've got fucking pizza fungi. What the fuck is this mess? So you've got to sit there and like underhand bribe the jester. Wow, I almost said jester. Bribe the fucking waiter. Put a 20 in his pants for him to be like, yo, dumbass, this is what this actually is. Like, okay. But it's still enjoyable, because even if you fuck up, then you get to see your date just be like, no, why didn't you get me what I like? I don't know, you have a fucking menu, won't you order for yourself?
Oh yeah, like messing up, whether it be like messing up on what you're ordering, messing up by one of your responses, messing up by lying, which apparently none of my characters can lie well, but all of yours get away with them. Like whether it's that or even showing up to a date late. Like it's so funny to see the things that will happen if you get these characters upset.
Especially when they turned up late. You turned up late like 10 minutes, and they sit down like, "Oh, this restaurant's really nice. You look really nice. Why are you 10 minutes late?" It's like they
Yeah.
suddenly like have a fucking switch in their brain go off, and they flip shit. And then the waiter comes over, and your one character looks like somebody just like got shot behind him, and then the other one looks like he's about to murder you. And the waiter's like, "Oh, your order, please."
Yeah, it makes it seem like they're like easing their way into yelling at you when you would think their first thing would be like, "Why are you so late?" Like getting upset immediately. Like they lull you into a false sense of security. They're like, "Oh wow, I love your blue hair. Oh wow, your brown eyes are just magnificent. Oh, what do you think of my hair? Oh yeah, your hair is just astounding. Oh yeah, your outfit is beautiful. Why the fuck are you 30 minutes late?"
It gets a nice build up, and that's assuming everything goes positive. You could be like,
Oh yeah, no.
"Oh yeah, your hair is beautiful, dude. Your hair looks like shit. It's
Oh yeah.
horrible."
Oh yeah.
But all in all, the game, you can make fun of it so easily, but it is still ridiculously enjoyable despite embarrassing.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Speaking of games that may be embarrassing, though, to move away from this, Yandere Sim. So this was something that I heard going back a little bit into some news. Yandere Sim's banned from Twitch now.
Yeah. Uh, I personally don't understand why, because what I've seen of Yandere Sim, it's literally just you making sure that Senpai notices only you, and you literally tossing aside all the other bitches with a lowercase b out of your way. And literally, like the only like there hasn't been any nudity that I've seen. You're literally just axing off characters, and there are so many games out right now that are able to be streamed on Twitch. And I'm going to use this as an example because it's the biggest one. And I'm not like trying to like start like a war on this game because I love the
Oh no.
franchise. Grand Theft Auto
Do
5,
it.
one of the biggest games streamed on Twitch. I would say this game is a lot worse than Yandere Simulator and the things it does, just because there's drug use, which again, I'm not hating on this franchise because I friggin' love it. But there's drug use, there's like prostitution, you still kill people, which is exactly what Yandere Simulator does. You do it like you do all these like terrible things. But this game is one of the biggest games on Twitch, and it's allowed. It's not banned. Like I think sometimes, like depending on like what you're doing in the stream, you have to rate your stream as like mature content. But that's essentially it. But Yandere Simulator, the only bad thing you're doing in it is axing off the bitches to get Senpai to notice you.
Okay, well, let me play devil's advocate here for a minute, because I can predict how Twitch would react to that, having read a lot of their policies about what is banned and what isn't banned. In GTA 5, you aren't killing children. In Yandere Sim, you're in a high school setting, so essentially you're killing children. And you don't have to kill innocent civilians to progress the plot. The act of murdering someone is not, and specifically children, is not crucial to furthering the plot at all. In Yandere Sim, that is essentially the gameplay. The core of the gameplay is you murdering children in a high school to get one character to notice you. So, under Twitch's terms of agreement or whatever, terms of service, that is technically banned under the same terms that games like Hatred is banned.
Yeah. And like I can understand for a game like Hatred, where it's literally the key component. And like I guess to an extent I could understand for Yandere. But like there are some instances in Grand Theft Auto where you do actually have to axe off the character who has done nothing wrong, and they're just like, hey, yo, Nico, yo, CJ, you wanna like go get rid of this person for me? Sure, what up? Whatever. Give me the money. Or like like
Good dialogue.
yeah, good dialogue. And one of the things also is like I do get like I'm pretty sure Twitch is like a US based, they're American based. But Over in Japan, and granted, it's not a Japanese game.
No, it
I'm pretty
isn't.
sure about that. It's an American-made game, correct?
Yes, I'm 99% certain that the person who is making this is American.
Yeah, like the ages of the characters themselves, though, technically in certain countries, and I know this gets into a completely different debate, but I'm just using this for this. Technically, they're not actually like children in certain like countries. They're literally considered adults. So like, I can understand why, since Twitch is US based, it still technically falls under that. But then in a way, you would think that it wouldn't. But I don't know. I personally think that of all the games I've ever seen streamed on Twitch, Yandere is probably one of the more mild games. And that's just my thing.
Yeah, I have a few opinions on this. On one hand, Twitch is a company, and as a company, they have a right to ban what they want. If they feel like this isn't good for their service, they have every right to do that. I'm not hating them on that. However, I would like a certain degree of consistency because, like you said, GTA, you could make an argument that under generally the same guidelines to some amount of variation, GTA can be just as sort of bad of a game in terms of gore and violence and whatnot. Granted, like I said, it might not necessarily be the full 100% core of the gameplay. You're doing this 24/7, in which case, and again, Twitch has not said anything about why they banned this. This is something that bothers me as well. They haven't given the developer any notification on why they banned this. In fact, the developer didn't know until he was told by somebody else that it was banned. And my advice for the developer is, let's assume that because violence is the core, especially violence for children, is the core gameplay element. One, the game's in early alpha. It's like 5% done. So to ban a game on what you believe is terrible content, which it's not even finished yet, is kind of jumping the gun, I think. But one of the ideas I would have for the developer is, if they want to say that because violence against children is the core element of the gameplay, technically make it optional. Make it so that you could win over Senpai's eyes by doing a pacifist run, by just manipulating people or something like that, instead of just axing them questions with a big axe.
Yeah. And I think that definitely could be a good alternative to it as well, especially if you don't want to actually axe off those characters. Because when you think about it from a certain perspective, axing off characters just to get Senpai to notice you, you're pretty much the villain of the story. Like, there's no way of going around this. You're the villain of the story. You're that mean bitch in school that no one wanted to be around. And, like, especially if the characters aren't actually evil or bad, because I've seen some of it, and sometimes you'll make a character who hasn't really done anything wrong literally run off crying. And so, like, I can understand why they would do, like, a pacifist version, and I would be 100% against, not against it, for it. Be 100% for it. It's
Yeah,
just, like, weird, because there are certain things, like, Twitch allows mods. If anything, I think Twitch actually encourages mods for games. And I've seen some pretty sketchy mods put on Twitch. Like, granted, the nudity ones and stuff like that are banned, of course.
yes.
But, like, there are other ones where you can do stuff that you're really not supposed to do in the game and would technically be frowned upon. And, like, you would think to an extent, Steam then, like, not Steam, but Twitch would be like, actually, this is banned now, too. This is banned now. This actually falls under the same guidelines, so I guess this is banned. However, you are right that as a company, they do have a right to say what is and isn't banned, especially if they're afraid that it would put them, like, under, like, heat from, like, say a 12-year-old kid is watching Yandere Simulator, and it's like one of those super uppity, like, rich families where, like, they're, like, super conservative, and, like, that kid isn't allowed to watch anything but PBS.
Sammy, why aren't you watching your Christian broadcasts? I don't see Jesus in this game. Why is the girl not trying to get the attention of Jesus? Go read your Bible.
Yeah, and, like, I could see, like, why they wouldn't allow it on there, because, say, like, because there are a lot of parents who do this, but, like, the parent sees it and is like, oh my god, you're turning my child into a murdering Satanist homosexual. Oh, I'm gonna sue you. Like, I can understand to that extent, because luckily we're not in the 90s anymore, where pretty much any lawsuit, like, won. But, like, I can definitely see why they wouldn't, so that way they wouldn't have to worry about getting the heat for that. But what I would suggest, and I think, like, technically, like, a lot of sites have this, And like you can't really truly monitor this because someone can literally lie about their age. But you could always be like, hey, look, for a game like this, you have to make it to where it's mature audiences only, and only people who maybe have a Twitch account and have their age over this can watch it, and maybe only certain people in certain countries. Like, I think it would be better to maybe do it that way to where it's not just outright banned. But that's just my thing.
Well, Skype here has a suggestion. Skype has some random Madden cunt is yelling outside my window. That's cool. Skype has a suggestion from an advertisement that basically is just advertising educating children. I shit you not, it's an advertisement for the education of children. Very conveniently placed, Skype.
Very convenient. Thank you, Skype. Thank you, Skype, FBI, and CIA for listening. I hope y'all are enjoying the podcast so far.
You know, there's so many ways I could transition into multiple topics from this point. But now we've mentioned, you know, the government, let's talk about the UN for a minute. The UN has decided to step into games, and Japanese games specifically. The UN is trying to ban sexual violence in Japanese games. Now, generally, I have no real issue with that. One, other than the fact that, you know, an international entity is trying to ban things, and I'm not particularly fond of censorship. But, I mean, obviously, sexual violence, like rape and stuff, or games that focus around rape are kind of disgusting. Should they be banned? No. But, at the same time, it's, you know, the UN coming in here and telling people to do this, that, and the other, which I find disturbing. I think that a mature adult can be intelligent enough, hopefully, to discern whether or not they want to play that kind of game. But it really annoys me. This is something that the UN is trying to do, to ban, and this isn't the first time. In fact, on this news thing, I'll post a link to it, I found this image in the comments where somebody posted this, and they posted 2 links where it says, Japan urged to ban manga child abuse images. And then right above it says, UN staff circulated child abuse images on work emails. Oh, that's so good. Literally, the difference is fucking 2 days. There's a 2-day difference between these articles. Like, the hypocrisy, please. UN, as much as I think sexual violence in games, and sexual violence in general, in any form of media, really, is kind of disgusting. I mean, obviously, if there's, like, a movie plot where someone gets raped, as long as you don't show the actual scene explicitly, then, you know, you can imply that that's part of the plot, whatever.
Yeah.
But for what they're talking about, and I think the reason why people are up in arms at this is because apparently the wording, and I haven't seen the exact wording, is vague enough that they could ban a lot more things than just that. So that's why people are up in arms about that, despite, you know, the UN's hypocrisy about everything under the fucking sun.
Yeah, no, to an extent, I mean, I could understand where they're coming from with something like this. But the thing is, this is my personal thing. I would see it as a way, if you see someone like who's getting stuff that are like child abuse, like you see them like buying these things like child abuse porn, child abuse like manga, like you see them buying these like rape things or doing things like that. Like we all know the government, at least I fully believe this. Some people don't. I fully believe the government listens in on us. Like I think there's no debating this. Government listens in. And if like the government is doing that, you know they're watching what you're buying, you know they're watching what you watching. So like, wouldn't the government to an extent, like especially the UN, use this as a way to like actually monitor people, like to see if they're going to become like an actual, you know, serial killer, or if they're going to become like a rapist or a pedophile? And to an extent, I can understand wanting to get rid of it because God knows I don't want to see anything relating to like child abuse manga. I don't want to see like anything relating to rape or stuff like that. Yeah. And you raised an interesting point. There are some stories, there are quite a few stories to where sometimes it's part of the plot. Like I mentioned this earlier, Veronica Mars, the very first episode, you find out that the main character was actually roofied and raped at a party. And you never see it, like it's never explicitly shown, like like you just know that it happened. And like they do have a scene where they explain on it, but you never see like the actual act. You don't see like a penis going in a vagina or anything like
Oh, you
that.
said the PP word.
Oh yeah. Oh, and you reacted to it, so that's trademark right there.
Yeah,
Copyright.
well, copyright and the UN just banned us. Fuck, man,
Oh
we're
yeah.
digging a hole.
Well, I hope Vietnam and Germany enjoy this video. They're probably
Germany, they
going.
ain't getting this. That's banned. That's banned before it goes out.
Oh yeah. But like I like when it serves in stories, like there are certain stories where it's really debatable to whether or not it serves. Like there was a change they made in one of the recent seasons of Game of Thrones where they literally had a character get raped that wasn't in the books. The rape wasn't in a book. They changed another scene from a regular sex scene to a rape from where it was a sex scene in the book to where it's a rape scene in the show. And there are stuff like that where it's really like really upsetting because they do it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it like to be like edge lords, like, oh yeah, we're a gritty show, or oh yeah, we're telling a gritty story. And this goes in a completely different topic, but like I can understand when you have something like that in a story when it's supposed to serve the plot or it's supposed to serve the character. However, to get back to the actual topic, like should this stuff be banned in games? I wouldn't want to see it in games. That's my thing. The government, I feel, could personally use it as a way of tracking, like as a way of seeing, like as a way of studying your mind, and especially with all the like creepypastas that are out there, like Polybius, where oh yeah, there was a game back in like the 60s and 70s,
I heard of that.
like where like essentially if you played it, the government would like monitor your mind, and like I mean, I'm I'm kind of a bit like of a conspiracy theorist. There are some things I don't actually believe, but like I'm always open to the opportunity of the government trying to like mess around with people's minds, especially with what we know, like from like all the things that they did with like war prisoners. But the point of the subject is, I personally would not want to see these in my games. Like to an extent, I think having like a block, I guess you could put on it. And like majority of the time when there's a way that you can rape a character in a game or child abuse like manga, majority of the time things aren't sold like in actual like big party stores. Like
Yeah.
majority of usually don't sell them. Amazon, I know, was clear in house on a bunch of this stuff that people were selling on there, to the point to where not only would you get reported if you had anything like that on there that you were selling that could be considered under that, like if it was like anything promoting rape culture, promoting child abuse, promoting child pedophilia, like like hurting
Yeah.
children that way. Like you could literally both get reported and you would get banned and you would have someone actually investigating you if you were in the US. But like I guess like to an extent I would not want it, and most big places combat it themselves. And should it be banned? It's like it's a tough situation. I
It's
don't
a
know where I
slippery
really
slope,
fall.
is what it is. It's a huge slippery slope, is what it is. Because at that point, you start going in, well, what else can be banned? This, that, or the other. Personally, I don't think it should be banned. I think that the society itself can shun it. I think those people who get this sort of stuff can be shunned by society, by the people in society who are around this person and who know about it. And they can have that be dealt with on the level of individuals, of consumers, and of the people around said consumers. I don't think a governmental entity needs to come in and necessarily do this censorship, not because I don't agree that this stuff is terrible and should be, honestly shouldn't be sold, but because I don't want some sort of third party governmental entity deciding what should and shouldn't be sold.
Yeah. And especially with how you mentioned the fact that apparently like the document itself, like whatever they're putting out as their way of quotation banning this stuff, is very vague and it doesn't give specific like terms. It just essentially gives umbrella terms to where anything could fall under it. That's where I find it to be not necessarily sketchy, but to the point to where they could. This is my thing with government documents and stuff like that. They always seem to do it in a very vague way to where they make it seem like, oh yeah, we're doing it for this reason. But if you do something else, they can always be like, oh, well, actually, sweetie, you're kind of violating this. And oh, look at this little
Yeah.
law we passed.
This, and this is actually something that you mentioned that we kind of brought up in one of my English classes about governmental speak, basically. The idea that, but one, the use of the passive voice a lot is a huge thing with this, so that you remove the agent from the sentence, from what's going on. So that alone is an issue. But at the same time, you have the fact that it's made to be vague and confusing, and the passive voice can do this exceptionally well. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
with governmental documents and whatnot, it comes off as appearing quote-unquote official. But it's, again, really ambiguous for that same purpose of what we mentioned. It can definitely be manipulated and twisted to fit whatever they want, which is, again, why I, along with many others, is kind of not exactly supportive of this law that the UN's trying to pull.
Oh, yeah.
Because those vague terms leave too much open to interpretation.
Like, I could understand if the law itself was actually very explicit, very blunt about what it is. It's like, hey, we're getting rid of, like, child abuse manga and, like, rape stuff, like rape porn and, like, just explicit things to where, like, you can play a video game and rape a character. Yeah, we're getting rid of that. Like, I could understand then if it was very explicit. But the fact that it's so vague is kind of what concerns me.
Yeah. And, again, I'll just say, I haven't actually read the document to individually analyze how vague or non-vague it is. So yeah. I'm just speaking on what has been heard. We'll post a link in the link dump for the podcast of what has been, what I'm referencing and what has been discussed, but so that people can do that on their own. But I personally have not read it. Actually, I don't even know if I have the link. I'm sure I do. Good job. I'm sure good preparation. It's somewhere. I'll find the fucking thing. Whatever.
Yeah, no, and definitely after this, I definitely do want to look into that, see what it is exactly. Hopefully, we're not just, like, talking out of our asses, and it's actually very explicit, and it's, like, not vague at all. It's like, oh yeah, we're getting rid of this, guys.
Well, I mean, that's why you come to this podcast. Two shit faces talking out their asses. I mean, again, you were hired for 2 pieces of pizza off the park bench, so, you know.
Pieces of cheese. Which honestly is a very good pizza.
I like cheese pizza. Cheese pizza is good. Speaking of banning, though, to go away from cheese pizza, because I know we have so much to discuss with this bullshit, really, and more banning. This has literally been the banning podcast. Let's talk about censorship and banning.
This is the heavy podcast.
No fun allowed in this. Binding of Isaac. Let's talk a little bit about Binding of Isaac being banned on iOS, on your Apple stuff.
It's been banned on iOS?
Yeah, it's been banned on iOS, which is disturbing, honestly, because I don't know why. Apple said that it was because child abuse. Going back again to the Yandere simulator thing, they claim child abuse. And give me a second. It's interesting that this happens because somebody pointed out something kind of funny, which I'm gonna give me a minute to quote here. Somebody made a rather satirical post in the comments where it said, "It's about time someone finally stands up for the abuse of fake children. Don't want anyone playing this game on a device constructed by 7-year-olds in a Chinese sweatshop, do we?"
Okay, no, that's perfect. That is so ironic too, because it's honestly true.
And below that, you'll get even better. As somebody else comments, "I'll have you know they won't hire anyone who doesn't claim to be older than 16, and they aren't allowed to work more than 80 documented hours a week. Thank you very much." And it goes even further. Yeah, and they even installed nets around the building for safety of the workers for some reason. It is really just the irony of it all is pathetic, really.
The irony is, it's perfect, but what I don't understand is there's quite a few things on the iOS store that, in which case, they could get rid of. Like, for example, when Pokemon Go, I think that's the name of the one that's coming out to iOS, the one where you can, like, play it in real life and catch Pokemon in certain locations, and you can actually battle with people in real life. Like, that one right there, couldn't that technically right there be automatically taken off the store and banned for animal abuse?
You know, I'm surprised things like PETA or whatnot haven't gone after Pokemon for stupid shit like that. They went after Mario over Tanuki suits, for Christ's sake.
Oh, no, PETA has gone after Pokemon. They actually came out with two horrible PETA-specific Pokemon games. I played one of them before, and it's hilarious. It might even be something worthy of a stream. But they've come out with their own Pokemon games.
Make sure Twitch hasn't banned that for Christ knows what reason. Oh my god. Yeah,
and you see the Pokemon get bloody in that one. You see them get beaten and bloody. So, you know, Yeah, in the PETA ones get very explicit.
It's, again, this goes back to everything we're talking about with censorship and stupid shit like that. It's not what it says it is. Really, Binding of Isaac, you don't even know if, I mean, yes, technically it's a child, I guess. You could get as far as say sometimes it's an unborn fetus if you play as the unknown. So, do we need to stand up and make protests against unborn fetuses? Should we have, like, fucking abortion protests for this type of stuff? Like, at what point does it just get ridiculous for this sort of a thing? I mean, really,
Yeah.
Nintendo, for Christ's sake, has Binding of Isaac on their system. Nintendo, the family-friendly, cute little Yoshi Yarn World game-making company, has Binding of Isaac.
And the ironic part, to kind of go on with like Apple and some of the stuff that they've actually banned from their store before, I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a graphic novel series called Saga. It's very, very hugely popular, like widely well received. It's won a crap ton of awards, and I'm surprised. I could be wrong about this, but I'm surprised there isn't an adaptation of this in live action yet. But essentially, it actually had one of its volumes banned a while back from the iOS store because apparently it was considered what I forget what the exact wording was used for it, but it was something like scandalous, raunchy, and like it was like considered like too adult or unfriendly. And the funny part is that none of the other like volumes of Saga had been banned, but there was actually other things on the iOS store that had like explicit nudity and stuff like that. And the whole thing that the Saga thing fell under is because in one scene it showed a woman breastfeeding, which that's I don't understand why they used that as an example. And then another one, you see two characters engaging in homosexual intercourse. And the funny thing, yeah, and the funny thing is these two characters have TVs for heads. So like these are characters like it's so ridiculous. And the iOS store, like they immediately eventually repealed it. Like the creators of Saga came out to talk about it. Like a bunch of people were pissed online, especially for the fact that it was for those reasons because they were like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't seem like sketchy at all, Apple."
No.
Like that definitely doesn't seem sketchy at all considering that you ban that, but then you have this and this on there.
I mean, they've got fucking, what, ebooks of 50 Shades of Grey on there?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the hypocrisy, again, I'm fine with a company deciding that they want to take a stand and not put something on their particular platform or store or whatever. They have every right to that. And they, for fuck's sake, be consistent with it.
Because majority of the time it isn't. It isn't consistent.
No.
It's like, what do we feel like getting rid of today?
It's whichever...
All right, spin the wheel.
Yeah, it's like they're playing fucking spin the bottle, where whichever overly exaggerated sort of CEO and overly sensitive person comes out and is like, I find this to be culturally insensitive about unborn babies or homosexual penises or whatever the fuck else they want to throw out with this. I mean, really, it's disgusting.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, I could be very wrong about this, but I could have sworn that, like, for the iOS, that there was a mobile version, and this is going back to that franchise again that I love, but this is always my go-to because everyone attacks it. There's a mobile version of GTA, I'm pretty sure, and that one has never really been under the scrutiny of being banned from the iOS store. So, like, that's what I don't understand. Like, there's so many things that fall under the hypocrisy where they ban something, but then there's something else on there that could be considered worse or something that's just the same, just under a different umbrella, and it's completely fine. It's considered okay.
Yeah, I'm no legal expert. I don't understand the elements of what goes into there, why they think some things are bad or some things aren't. Maybe it's just the popularity of it. Maybe Isaac is just too big for its britches and it's too renowned, so they're going to go after it because of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can't tell you how that's going to work, why it does that. It makes no sense why these games, and with GTA, how the fuck does GTA even get onto a mobile platform? Isn't that game, which GTA, like the first one?
Like, I'm pretty sure it's one of the few ones. Are they made a mobile version specifically? Because I know that GTA has pretty much come out on almost every platform by now. They had a DS game. I don't know if they had a 3DS game. They definitely had PSP titles. So, like, at this point, especially considering the fact that the iOS can run actually quite a few things that are ported from Nintendo DS. Like, for example, The World Ends With You, phenomenal game. Not really the point of the discussion. Plugging that game, though, because I want a sequel. And if more people get interested in this game and buy it, I might just get my damn sequel. But that's besides the point. Like, there are certain games that like could easily be ported on there because like there are some PS1 titles that have been ported on there. I'm pretty sure there's actually some like PS2 titles that have been ported on there. Tits, for example, has been ported onto iOS now, correct?
Yes, the first chapter of Trails in the Sky, Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, is now on mobile, only in Japan.
Yeah,
which
only in Japan.
concerns me, actually, just for a quick second, because there's been some speculation that the translation of the third Trails in the Sky game will only be a mobile translated game.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
not even translated by Xseed. It's speculation I heard from a post that was years ago, I believe. So it's probably inaccurate, but with the direction that seems to be moving in,
See, that would be really sad just
yeah.
because of the fact that Xseed has been in charge for the first two titles. They go out of their way to make sure that the translations are as accurate as possible, and if they can't directly translate it, they will still try and keep the feel of everything that is in there while like paying homage but making it make more sense in context of like whatever they're translating it into.
Xseed is an example of brilliant translation localization company. One that is just off the wall exceptional with what they do and the amount of effort they put into things. The fact that they go through and actually play all of the games, the original ones, as part of research. One of the people who deals a lot and talks a lot on Twitter and deals with the Xseed Twitter account frequently talks about how she is playing Trails of Cold Steel 2 and Trails of Cold Steel, Trails of Cold Steel 2 and some of the other Xseed Trails games, Zero no Kiseki and things like that, just to understand like how all this links together and everything, and to have consistency between the games. So Xseed is an example of a great localization company, and the fact that they're giving potentially, and again, this is all speculation right now from what I heard a long time ago, speculation, it's sad that they're giving potentially Trails in the Sky, third chapter, final chapter, to a different localization company just to port it to mobile.
And honestly, I could see them doing it because maybe the fact that whatever company is doing it is possibly doing it for cheaper. Maybe they're ones who are more acquainted with mobile gaming as well. But there's no doubt about it. There definitely would be a difference in translation. Like, definitely, it wouldn't be the same style as the way XE translated the other two games, which is accurate as well as trying to like keep it as like if it's not completely accurate, it's trying to keep the spirit.
Yeah,
And with something like this, it could be something that's either super accurate, so accurate to the fact that the wording and the translation will sound awkward to American ears or whatever they're translating it into, but also to the point to where it might not even line up with the previous translations and it might just feel like something completely different and not in a good way.
Yeah, it'll sound potentially rigid and formal because one of the things to pay attention with translating is denotative and connotative meaning of words and the cultural implication of individual words. This is something that Xseed understands exceptionally well and has written blogs about how much they change things up to keep the general spirit of the game, but have it be understandable by Western audiences, because some idioms just don't translate from Japanese to English, or from any language to any other language. These are very cultural things that you have to understand the connotations of the words and the cultural implications of the phrases and the native culture in general to be able to accurately translate it to, and Xseed has shown exceptional proficiency in doing that.
And was it like explicitly said like what company would like actually be looking into doing it?
It's been a while since I read this. I don't even have a link. That's how old it is. This may not even be true. I could have just seen this on a fucking YouTube comment or something stupid and be creating it in my head, but it still brings up something to be discussed. I don't know who. I think going back to the coding thing that you mentioned for porting, people seemingly don't realize that localization companies have to translate the code as well. They
Yeah.
have to actually go through and turn that to English, which in reading some of the blogs for Trails in the Sky's second chapter, that that causes a lot of glitches and requires a lot of play testing and a lot of just exceptional QA sort of things. And Xseed has done it well. They've shown that they can port things to PC wonderfully. I believe you can port things to DS or PSP or whatnot. One of the two. I can't remember. Probably PSP. For their Story of Seasons stuff. I don't know about mobile. That might be the reason why it might, if it is, again, speculation, could just be talking out my ass. It's not like I haven't done that for half the podcast anyways. They could be doing that simply because, like you mentioned, the company might be more proficient in mobile platforms.
And like I could understand like maybe if they were doing it and again like you said it might not even be true. And my thing is I think like since it has been a while since you've seen it and with the recent reception that both second chapter and Trails of Cold Steel have been receiving and from like American audiences judging by the fact that XC translated it, I would think that Falcom would be like, maybe we should keep these putas on board. They might be pretty useful, especially since they keep our stuff accurate. But like you would think that at that point, then maybe they would have Xseed actually team up with another company who's more acquainted with porting or putting things on mobile, but keep Xseed to where they can still do the translations. And maybe even do that to where you put out first and second chapter out onto mobile first and then put third chapter. So that way you can have someone who essentially like Xseed, they already have this game made and like just have someone like on the team with whoever these mobile people are to make sure everything stays the way it's supposed to be while getting put onto a mobile device. Kind of like how when the Kingdom Hearts games got remastered from PS2 to PS3, technically this isn't the greatest example because the game did gain a few PS3 glitches that were not there in the PS2 versions. The HD was essentially from a team at Square Enix. It was part of the team who had worked on like some of the handheld games like Dream Drop Distance, Birth by Sleep, the team who was essentially the main team now. And they, like a very small part of the team, worked on the HD remasters, had to do a lot of coding from the ground up because some of the coding was gone, but they also outsourced. And so like they worked with another team to bring it over. And granted, those games did have a few glitches that technically were not there in the PS2 versions.
Glitches.
They did get rid of some of the glitches that were there in the previous versions though. So I will say that. They did get rid of that. But like, I think the best option in that case would be having your team up with whoever has been handling it, with whoever you think is more proficient. Because from a business standpoint, you definitely 100% want someone. If you're putting a mobile game, like if you're porting it over, you definitely want someone who's acquainted with mobile gaming. You don't want someone who's like brand spanking new to it. Even if they've done good for you in the past, you want whoever you think is going to be the best client.
Yeah.
But in that case, you would think that you would have someone who you know is the best in this case, like this field, and the best in this field. You throw them together and you say, yeah, go make sweet, beautiful musical love to that iOS and Android port of Legends of Heroes.
And I mean, maybe finance is playing a part in this. Legend of Heroes probably isn't Xseed's most profitable endeavor. And I mean, they've mentioned it isn't, but they do really like doing it. It's one of their favorite things to do with the Trails games. So maybe that's playing a part into their not being able to get enough from actually working. Mm-hmm. Or maybe, you know, we can just bypass the entire thing and not port the game to fucking mobile before you port the PC and give us a damn PC make of it. Since the other two are on PC in English already. And only first chapter is on mobile in Japanese only right now.
Yeah, and that was my thing that I was gonna raise up because since it is like a bit of older news, like it would be weird first of all to release the third one on mobile when the two previous ones aren't on mobile, especially considering the fact that at that time the first one wasn't even on mobile in Japan. So you would think that they would work on a PC release first, especially considering the fact that even stuff that does get ported to consoles, to handhelds, to mobile, they all start on PC. Like, it all starts on PC. Like, it runs on PC first, and, like, some things, like, they're already, like, working on making it work for the consoles, but it's all designed on PC. So you would think that like if anything like that were to happen, they would do a PC release first. At least that's what I would think.
Yeah, and again, maybe this just goes to prove that maybe the information I have is total shit, and that isn't being intended at all, and maybe we've just been speculating here for the past 15 minutes. Maybe.
Speculation podcasts are always the best, talking out of our asses.
The Ass Podcast, where our
Ooh.
asses now are censored. The actual whole is censored. So you get nothing out of it. It's just bleeps the whole time.
Ooh, Kaba boy.
Oh my. Um, let's see, speaking of other things being potentially censored, like assholes, let's go back to censored.
Okay.
Because that, again, is the whole fucking point of this podcast. I have so much censored news. I don't know if you have any news. Do you have anything you want to bring up before I depress us all with more censoring?
The only news that I have is kind of one that I would still consider a little depressing to an extent, but it's not exactly video game related news.
Go on.
Okay, well, if any of you actually know me from like my channel Neku the Book Lock, or the fact that I'm like a huge reading nerd,
I think I know where this is going.
essentially, DC recently released some news that for like the third time in like the last 5 years, they are rebooting their comics yet again. They're starting at #1 yet again. They've done this literally already two times. They did this once in like 2010 and 2011, and like they usually do it like every 10, 20 years to generate new readers, which is understandable. Like they're comics have been going on for a long ass time. You're trying to get new people in, especially when you have something at like issue 643 and a reader's like, fuck, I'm not going to read all those issues. Like, it's understandable. But so like they did that in 2011 and it made sense. A lot of people didn't have good receptions towards it because there was some stuff that was weird, and then there's some stuff that was legitimately good, but there was a lot of weird stuff. And then last year, and the year before, like Marvel announced that they were going to be like rebooting their stuff, and then so DC also was like, "Oh yeah, you know who else is rebooting their stuff again? Us." And so,
convenient.
yeah, very convenient. Like definitely done on purpose. And the funny part is that Marvel was rebooting their stuff for similar reasons without actually resetting their universe completely. And they were also doing it as a way of trying to like add some lesser heroes to like bigger mantles, like give them solo series, like do more diverse heroes than just the mains that you know about, like the ones that are like most talked about, like from like regular culture who doesn't exactly watch superhero movies or don't even like read comics. Yeah, like just like the general culture. And so like they were trying to put out more out there. And so now, like, and DC rebooted a lot of their stuff at the same time, and they kind of missed the point of why Marvel was doing it. They were just like, oh yeah, let's just put all our stuff again at #1. But so the other day, and by other day I mean yesterday, they announced that yet again, for the third time in the last 5 years, they are rebooting everything at #1 again. And one of their things was, oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of some of the continuity from the last few years who didn't like it, which to an extent it's grating because it's like you went out of your way to do this, but now
it's like the last few years you spent reading this. Yeah, none of that's canon anymore. That's going to be different now. Oops.
Yeah, and like so, it's kind of a shaft to the face for the people who have been into it for the last few years, but then it's kind of their way of trying to make up for the people who were fans of it before, and I can understand that to an extent as someone who really loves Star Wars and went through the original trilogy, and then George Lucas being like, "Hey guys, you want to see some other cool ideas?" And then the new movie that came out, which essentially tried to remedy the cool ideas. But
the new movie, which was like a clone of the first original movie, and then where it deviated, it kind of was like, maybe you just shouldn't have. You know what? Maybe you should just release the exact same movie with just remastered and called it the new one.
And like to an extent, like I can definitely understand like trying to make up for like the older fan base who generally got like shafted to the face. But like Marvel, not Marvel, DC, they're rebooting their stuff, and the things they're rebooting are conveniently the characters that are going to be featured in the new movies they're coming out, the new like Batman vs Superman and Justice League movies, which I'm hella fucking pumped for. But conveniently, those are the characters they're starting their new lineup with. And this kind of upsetted me, not just because of the fact that they're restarting, but there's a lot of series that I'm into from like DC and Marvel that are kind of some of the lesser heroes that you don't really get to hear about. Like there's this character called Midnighter from DC who was fucking amazing. I fucking love him. And they recently brought him back into the limelight for the last few years. And like he's not announced to be getting a new series. It's not been said what's going to happen to like some of the older series, the ones that haven't been getting reset, but more than likely they're going to get cut because DC's going to be like, no, we're starting over. And there's no news on whether Midnighter is getting another series. Another series I follow is called We Are Robin, which is like one of the most diverse and one of the coolest concepts from DC to come in recent years. That one hasn't been announced to be getting reset and will more than likely be cut. There's another one called Gotham Academy, which is actually really cool, and it's just like it's such a weird series, but this one right here is really cool. And this one they have actually announced is getting reset, so to an extent I can understand. Like I find solace in that. But they're resetting a lot of their series. They're cutting off a lot of the ones that I found to be the more interesting, the like more meaty ones, since how many, like especially for comic readers, you've seen Batman take on like bad guys for like the last 70,000 years. You've seen Superman go and punch Lex Luthor in the face while also saying, I used to love you while we were in Smallville and then you deviated away from me. Like you get to see all these things like all the damn time, and you finally get new characters, our characters who didn't have main roles before into main roles, and you're just like, LOL. You know that reset we did? We're resetting again. We're resetting the characters that are conveniently in our new movies. Hi, bye. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a marketing ploy, but I don't know. I feel like the idea if you constantly reset, then you're just devaluing the reset in general, and you're turning everyone off.
You're devaluing the reset, and then you're devaluing the people who had been with it. Like, say, the people who stuck with the company from before 2011, who stuck through not only one, not only two, but now three reboots, three resets. Like, you're really pushing the limits. Like, I could understand if maybe it were done over a 10-year gap. It would still I would still be kind of like, okay, that seems a little much, but like I can kind of understand because that's pretty much what they're doing with the Spider-Man movies. But at least it wasn't like within 5 years.
Yeah, how many Spider-Man movies has there been now at this point? I'm glad I don't watch movies anymore. It's just too much stupid shit to keep up with. Way too much. Like, there's 2 or 3 different Spider-Man main movies, if not more, that I just don't even know about because some probably came about from before I was born.
Yeah, there's essentially a third one. They're working on their third Spider-Man one, and this one essentially is actually going to be the most accurate because it's Marvel who's actually finally has their hands on the movie. Which, to be fair, the previous one with Andrew Garfield was a lot more accurate character-wise to Peter Parker and his friends than the previous trilogy was, which the previous trilogy was better story-wise, but I found the new movies, the duology, to be better character-wise. But they're doing a new one to reboot and actually make it accurate, and to that extent, I can understand. And luckily, it wasn't within the last 5 years. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw out one movie. You didn't like that movie? Okay, here's another one. Okay, wait, you didn't like that one? Okay,
let's just try again until we get it right. Eventually, we'll throw the dart and hit the fucking target.
Eventually, we'll hit the dart, or we'll have our movie tank like Fantastic Four or Fan Four Stick, because I don't understand why they threw that 4 in the title of Fantastic. But to get back, like it's definitely marketing, and I could understand if it were over a longer period of time, like 10 years, 20 years would be a lot more excusable, and 30 years, that's definitely the point where you're like, okay, yeah, like there was one reset every 10 years, like that's understandable. But 5 years, like, and it's barely the 5-year mark. Like we're in the beginning of 2016. They are barely like making it 5 years. Like it's right at the cusp. It could have been 4 years, but 3 resets in 5 years, especially the fact that you're taking away a lot of fan favorites. And granted, they're bringing back one of my favorites, Blue Beetle. It hasn't been announced.
Who the fuck is that?
He's one of the more obscure characters, and he has 3 different people who have been Blue Beetle before, and one of them is one of my personal favorites. The character's name is Jaime Reyes, and it hasn't been announced if he's going to be the new Blue Beetle. And I'm kind of hoping he's going to be the one who they're reviving again. Like, he never died, but like reviving for like the new run. But they're essentially cutting off all the like comics that were really diverse, really unique, the ones that had a lot of creative stuff put into them. You can see the creators like putting a lot of love into their characters and stories and being able to do all this unique stuff to essentially bring it back to all the characters that we've seen for the last 60 years, for the last 80 years.
The
Like,
unique characters, like the Blue Beetle. Whoever the fuck that is. Yo, I'm a fucking beetle. Fear me. Like, you can step on him. What is he? What makes him special?
there's two original Blue Beetles. Like,
Oh,
one of
fucking hell. Now
them,
we got two of them.
yeah,
They're
well, technically
multiplying.
there's three. The one who I was talking about was the third, and like there's been two before, and one of them like the first two didn't have any actual superpowers. They were just essentially rich people who were like superheroes to an extent, who could be really smart. So essentially other versions of Batman. And then the third one came out, which was the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. And essentially, there's this whole thing tied in, and it was such a fucking amazing story. But like, there's this whole thing tied in with like armor that essentially like made him look kind of beetle-esque, like not like an actual insect beetle, but like the humanoid, like essentially how you would picture someone called the Blue Beetle if they were like a superhero, like very humanoid, but like beetle-esque to certain things. And his armor was like alien, and like there was also someone in his head constantly talking to him from the armor, like and
Schizophrenia, man.
like, and it's such an interesting and great story, and they had all these different things that they were doing with it. He had like all these powers he could use, and there was this whole arc where like the people who own the Blue Beetle suit came to Earth, and they were like, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're friends. Let's teach you how to do stuff." And then it devolves into actually, we're here to Shrek you, take back the armor, and take back your planet. So, okay, thanks, die. And like that right there was like really interesting to me, and I fucking loved that run, and it was amazing. And then there's so many like awesome sub characters. But to get back to the Blue Beetle, like he's the one who all the other people were just like rich people who were like the next Batman. And this one actually had like legitimate like superhero powers, like he had a legitimate story, he had all these unique devices to him.
He's a fucking beetle. A fucking beetle. Well, talking about remakes and tanking and things like that, here's something that we could potentially use to kind of close this out a little bit. There's a Sonic movie being made.
Oh yes, I messaged everyone about that when I found out about it. I saw it.
Partly live action as well is what they're intending.
Wait, what? Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I found something. It's going to be a mix of live action and animation. And this picture, I got to send you a link to this fucking picture. That it's something I would expect. I don't somebody shit posting to have for a picture. Oh wait, that's not the one. Sorry, I sent you the wrong one. Good fucking job. I sent you the one about Japan.
The UN.
There's the fucking picture. Just look at that.
Oh god, I have to see this.
Yes. Oh, it's...
What?
Yes. That's not from the actual movie, let me be clear. But it's just a picture they used as a caption.
Like, I knew they were making a movie, and I went out of my way to message everyone. I messaged Drew, one of the... essentially, for people who watch this podcast and don't know this person, there's a person who comes to my streams who I'm friends with named Dracona. I messaged him about it, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like ridiculous and could be really bad or really hilarious or both. But I had no idea it was going to actually be live action. And there are some things where it's been a mix of animation and live action, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that really work. And then you get things like Space Jam and Garfield and the Smurfs. And I could literally go on with the things that haven't worked. But I will say, it's not what I expected Sega to do.
No. Here's the thing. When have video game movies or movies based on video games ever really worked? When have they just come out and been blockbuster greatness? Or even TV shows, a lot of them. Like the fucking live action Mario Super Show. Like, you had a guy who at one point sounds like he's saying "fuck you, Luigi" in there, even though he's not. It's like, God, really? Like, Why is that? Why does
Like,
that need to exist?
I cannot think of a single one that has like really taken off and really worked. The only one that I can think of that like kind of came close, there's two of them. One is the Silent Hill movie, which a lot of fans were upset about, but were like, well, at least it wasn't as bad. At least it didn't shaft into the face like the Resident Evil films, which those movies really shaft you to the face if you're a fan. The only good part about them is the main character who was created for the films. But like the Silent Hill movie, they were like, okay, well, at least they kept some of the things. Or the Prince of Persia movie, which, while it essentially whitewashed a lot of the characters, was still a
But
good and entertaining film, and I actually still really enjoy the movie, even though it's not like the game.
but
But
Silent Hill is made by Kojima, right? Doesn't that just mean it's a movie in and of itself? It's the
I
game in
mean,
general.
it, Silent Hill is made by Konami, but like Kojima, I don't think was ever actually involved with it until
Oh,
Silent Hills. And that was going to be like his actual Silent Hill game. Like it was
oh
made by
man,
Konami, but he hadn't actually been part of it. And
plurals.
the games are pretty much horror movies. Like they're games. Like they function like games. You
Yeah,
do a lot of shit in, but they're very much made for movies. Like you could make a really good movie out of them. And they made a second movie, which was actually probably as bad as pretty much most other adaptations you could see. But the first movie didn't betray fans quite in the way a lot of other ones have. But most video game movies, if not all, have more or less not like even Prince of Persia, which was made by Disney, by the way, you know, like
what?
fucking powerhouse company. They got the right to make the movie, and it was actually still very good. It was PG-13, which honestly, a Prince of Persia is a teen series, so teen and up. And they were like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be our new Pirates of the Caribbean franchise."
Nope.
They ended up making over budget, but in America, they didn't make over budget. They made over budget overseas, and they gotten a lot of like money for it, but because it didn't do so good here, they were like, okay, never mind, drop. See ya, Prince of Persia. Bye, Jake Gyllenhaal.
In what
Because he
countries
played.
did it do well?
I know that it did really well in the UK. I know it did really well in Japan, which I don't
Uh,
think Prince of Persia is even a Japanese game.
I
But
don't think it is. No.
like I know it did like really good overseas, like South America did really well. I think even in Canada it actually did better than it did here. But like here it
Fucking
only made like
Canadians.
60 million.
I'm looking it up right now. Who was the developer?
'Cause I think
Uh,
the developer is
Ubisoft
yeah, I was gonna say I think it's
says.
Ubisoft, which is American based, correct?
Yeah, Ubisoft. Well, they have Ubisoft Europe as well, I believe. So it could be one of the two. But I think Ubisoft is generally American based. Let me just go through here and do some basic research on this as well. The publishers, blah blah, creators. Okay, that's cool. Developers, Ubisoft of Quebec, Ubisoft of Casablanca,
Ooh.
Ubisoft of Singapore. I mean, yeah, there's a lot.
And so like
So,
I was kind of surprised about the fact that it did much better overseas because I didn't see it in theaters. I actually didn't even know it was a thing until it already released on Blu-ray because that was around the time that I had first gotten into the series because I hadn't yeah, you hear about certain game series, but until you've actually played some of them, especially Prince of Persia, which I consider to be a very not obscure series, but it's one of the lesser known Ubisoft ones because what is Ubisoft known for? Assassin's Creed. Definitely.
yeah, Ass Creed, and that's what else? They're known for some Far Cry 3 primarily.
And then there is also Watch Dogs, which they're only like known of recently
So they're
for
infamous for
the,
that.
the, the whole thing that happened with Watch Dogs, which I still do want to play. But Prince of Persia is essentially the very obscure title compared to all the other ones. It's like if Square Enix decided to make a movie based on their series Legends of Mana, which
Oh,
how
but
many people?
a lot of people know Legend of Mana. That's really famous. It's an
Yeah, like
old game, but you know, or Secret of Mana rather. Wait, are they the same one who made Secret of Mana?
yeah, Secret of Mana.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a classic one that Grant and I have never played, but it is a classic.
And like to an extent, like I mean, not even to an extent, like the Prince of Persia games are definitely classics. Like they're like some of the like greatest games to ever hit the platforms. But like compared to when you have bigger series, like for example, Square Enix has like Final Fantasy or Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts, or even Dragon Quest, which isn't that big over here, but is actually way bigger than Final Fantasy in Japan.
It's
Like,
huge in Japan.
yeah, it's huge in Japan. It's their flagship. It's their flagship, like hardcore. And like, so when you have stuff like that, like, it's definitely hard to imagine the lesser thing being made. And so, like, I don't know exactly how they went about it. I don't know if Disney approached them or they approached Disney, but that got made, and it was actually pretty good. But like, it wasn't as good as the games. It was different. But the only thing that I could think of, and this hasn't even come out yet, but it looks promising. And granted, the people who made the game are actually making the movie. But Ratchet and Clank is the only thing that I can think of that comes close to its source material, looks like its source material, is actually getting a game for the movie as well, and like actually looks like it could be, at least if it's not good, accurate. I think it's going to be phenomenal, but accurate, like actually like the game.
Never
So
played a Ratchet and Clank game.
I played the first one, and then I played a multiplayer one that was for the PS3, because I received it as a Christmas gift one year. I was like, cool, this wasn't the Ratchet and Clank game that I asked for, but cool. And like, so I definitely have experience with the series, and I'm super pumped about the new one. But like, I don't see Sega having that much. I don't see them being that involved or having that much care put into it, especially considering the fact that it's Sony who made the movie, and the game is owned by Sony. So of course, like, you're gonna expect something owned by Sony to actually be accurate. So like, it looks very much like it's going to be, but I mean, what I picture a Sonic movie being like, especially live action,
Speaking
is
of Sony, hmm,
like, just to kind of wrap up things on the Sonic thing. What I picture Sega doing with a live action Sonic game is probably something similar to Sonic 06, which the game is infamous. It's not the worst Sonic game ever, but it's
God,
infamous for what it is.
it's
But
no
like,
use. Is that one?
I believe I believe more or less, like, it's the one where Sonic is essentially saving a humanoid chick, and there's weird sexual tension between them, and that is
Oh
essentially what I
my
picture this movie being. That is what I picture it being. Live action
God,
Sonic getting the Mac on with, like, Scarlett Johansson. Like, that's what I picture.
that's this is going into like some of the shit we just talked about on my stream earlier type territory. Oh. Does Tails have two assholes because it has two tails?
The hard-hitting
Hard-hitting
question.
question, man. Jesus God. I I've never been a huge fan of Sonic. I played the first game of it on PC when it came out on PC early in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, and it was like, man, this is just rancid assholes for a game. I didn't like it that much, honestly.
Yeah.
And then Sonic Racers, what I'm playing now, Sonic and All-Star Racers Transformed, whatever incoherently long name they have for that fucking game. That's good. I like that. If you don't have like a Nintendo console, or even if you do, if you want a unique sort of gaming racing kind of game that doesn't take itself too seriously and uses some characters from popular franchises, even though I don't know 90% of them,
Same.
I still say it's popular. Because my viewers apparently know them.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone knows them except for the actual person who's streaming it.
Yeah. If you're into that, then it's definitely a good game. I think it holds up to Mario Kart. It's different. It's similar, and where it's similar, they both shine equally. Where they're different, I also believe they're both shining well. So that to me is the only good Sonic game that I've personally played. Granted, there may be more. I might get shit tons of hate because I'm sure you can find some like 10-year-old on the internet just like, no, don't hate on Sonic. Sonic's
It's
the
no
best thing.
use.
Yeah, it's no use.
You gotta
Step
go
it up.
fast.
Just gotta step it up. Gotta get the chili dog. Yeah. Fistity knuckles. And all that. But it's not my favorite franchise. I'll be completely honest.
The only games that I have personally played myself from the franchise is the one that you've mentioned, the racing one, and I find it to be one of the most fun games that I've played. And like,
It is.
that definitely also ties into like kind of the fact how like majority of the games I play are story based. This one has no story. You're just racing shits and giggles, and it's wonderful.
You
It's
can
fun.
make up stories. I
You
made
can
up some
definitely.
interesting stories.
Oh yeah, you can definitely make up stories. And like this one, it's so fun. It's like the only other racing games I've ever played have been a Gran Turismo game, which was definitely fun, but I got bored of pretty quickly. Um Mario Kart DS, which was fun, but since I didn't have Wi-Fi at the time, and the fact that
Friends.
none of my friends had it, I pretty much was racing by myself, so it quickly wore itself out. And then there's also Kingdom Hearts, or that's what I call it, but it's Rumble Racing and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. That one's fucking fun. Like, even if I'm playing by myself, it's fucking fun. I love the racing in that game. But this one right here is probably the most fun I've ever had with a racing game. It's a fun as hell Sonic game, and I've been told before it's not an actual Sonic game. I consider it a Sonic game. If its name is the first thing in the title, it's a Sonic game to me. It's a spin-off
Yeah,
for Sonic. It's like not the main series, of course, but it's a Sonic game. The same way that Mario Tennis is a Mario game.
if you can pick straws here, it's a racing game, it's a whatever game, it's a party game, or whatever the hell you want to throw into it. Honestly, it has Sonic in the advertisement of it. The Sonic brand is put upon it. It's a Sonic game. Is it an alternative genre to the typical Sonic games? Sure, yes. But it's still a Sonic game, so I accept it as being that. I accept it as being an alternative, and a good alternative. One that maybe they should apply some more to, and
I
work
would
a little
agree.
better with.
I would think like this one. I don't know how good All Stars Racing Transformed has done for them, but with how it functions as a game and how fun it is, I would think that they should do more for it. They should do like another game, especially with how fun it is. But like the only other actual like mainline Sonic title that I have ever played myself, other than the first one where I like played that one way back when I got it on like Android, and I just couldn't play it because I don't like the way that game would control on Android. I played Sonic Heroes, I believe it is, for PS2. I actually still own it.
Sonic Heroes! Yeah, best
I
fucking music in the game? Yeah, good.
I got this one, believe it or not. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll believe it. I got this one for like $6 off of Amazon. And like I got this a couple of years ago too for PS2, $6 off of Amazon. Someone was just practically trying to give it away, essentially. And like I got it, and what I played of it was fun. And then I eventually, and by eventually I mean like after the first level, I kind of stopped because I had never played a
Hmm,
platforming game of such speed before, and I kept dying, and I was like, I'll come back to this in a
too
little while.
fast!
Like it's definitely a very different game for me, and that also could be because of the fact that I don't play very many platformers. So I'm not an expert on platforming. So like
Yeah.
I can't really be like, oh yeah, like it's a shit game, or oh yeah, it's a great game. I liked what I played of it. It was very fast, and I kept dying, and it wasn't even making me rage quit. I was just like, well, I kind of need to adjust myself to this. But
Platforming is something I'm not a huge platformer kind of game person. I like some Mario, I like Donkey Kong, that's fine. I played like
yeah,
Earthworm Jim, those for the short amount of times that they existed are kind of platforming sort of games. Um, Sonic is a very unique platformer, and the exact reason that you mentioned, it's so fast that you basically have to memorize the fucking maps to not just ram your cranium right into the nearest object.
pretty much.
And I don't find that particularly fun that I need to sit there, run at the speed of clown before busting my testicles on something. That's just not a particularly enjoyable thing for me. I feel like the concept is interesting in theory, but I don't particularly like it in execution. And again, maybe I'm just an outlier in this case. I'm sure a lot of people like Sonic, but
Yeah, Sonic has a pretty big fan base. A lot of people, like especially a part of the fan base, haven't really liked a lot of the recent titles. And I will admit, I've actually been interested in picking up some of the recent titles, especially since some of the recent titles look like they are still fast games, but they've slowed down the gameplay to where you can, actually play the game. And as someone who like for someone who really likes fast gameplay and likes the series, like more power to you. If you enjoy it, that's wonderful. But like it's the same way like there are some people out there who don't like turn-based games, and if you don't like turn-based games, like it's not like you should get stoned. Like it's, and I don't mean like 420 stoned. I mean like getting rocks thrown at you.
dang,
Like if you don't
man.
if you don't like a certain genre of games, you're more than able to do that, because there are people who don't like certain genres of movies, certain genres of books. Like it's the same thing when it comes to games. You don't need to like every single genre. And there are some people who don't like action-based games, or there are some people who don't like puzzle-based games.
But Sonic's so fast, it's too slow. You gotta step it up.
Gotta step it up. Gotta become a Sonic fan now.
Eat more chili dogs.
And
but
so,
yeah,
like,
I get what you're meaning.
Yeah, like if you like it, more power to you. I personally find them like the same way that you mentioned it. Like the gameplay is very fast, and I kind of have been more interested in some of the newer ones that have come out, despite some of the fan reaction, because they look like they're a little slower, and you can still move fast, but you can actually, see the map. You can actually do things on it. You don't have to worry about practically launching yourself off of a platform, trying to reach another platform, but oops, you jumped 1 millisecond too soon because you were going too fast and you were trying to go by reflexes, and oh look, there you went, falling into the water. Oh, you saw that checkpoint that was right there? Yeah, you didn't make it.
Too bad, wasn't fast enough. Yeah.
And like some of the older Sonic games, I would say probably are more friendlier than some of the ones that are in the middle generation, because they were fast, but they were still side scrollers. So to an extent, you could still slow down and you could still like kind of move through it. Whereas the ones that came out in the middle, especially Sonic Heroes and Sonic Adventure, from what I've seen, there are times where you have to be going fast because you won't be able to do anything else. Like you won't be able to launch from platform to platform. You won't be able to attack anything. You won't be able to move forward. Like you can't just take it at a leisurely pace, which in that game makes sense. But like there's definitely an extent to where I think that there needs to be some sort of like in between, I don't know.
But it's no use. That's why it's no use.
No use.
I need to stop. I need not do that for my voice. But yeah, that is Sonic for you. It's a game, love or hate, it exists. There's going to potentially be a movie of it. God save our fucking souls. Okay. We've gone on for a while here. I had a few things I wanted to bring up about Fire Emblem and Bethesda. I guess I can just quickly bring up Bethesda has announced very vaguely that they are working on 3 big titles.
Ooh.
New things that we don't know what they are. So I'm hoping that Bethesda revamps what they're doing to make things unique and enjoyable again and refreshing instead of the same old style. But I just wanted to drop that bit here at the end. We don't have too much time to talk about it because you've been going on for quite a while. So, and we won't get to Fire Emblem either. I wanted to talk about North American Fire Emblem and its censoring as well. Fun censoring, which I have my opinions on that. And there are a few other things, but we got the vast majority of what we're doing out of the way. So, JHK, you have any last closing things you want to bring up before we call this?
Just pretty much that the pizza was worth it, everyone. And no matter what anyone says, there are a lot of things you could do to earn a slice of pizza. Wink.
Oh my. Well, on that note, you're gonna go back to the street corner, and, I'm gonna go do whatever I do. Probably edit this. Anyways.
Just make sure you don't react. Trademark.
Yeah, never react. Don't do that. Anyways, thank you, JHK, for being a fill-in host. Ren, again, was busy with some personal stuff that he's dealing with and wasn't able to come here. But hopefully Ren will be back, or if not, we'll have more the pizza connoisseur himself, JHK, to be here with us, or someone else, or I'll just be sitting here fucking talking to myself like I do normally anyways.
And you can always guarantee if I'm here, I will derail this conversation into something that it probably should not have ended up into being.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, this is JHK here, who's been with us. I'll make sure to post links to your stuff in the link dump, so be sure to provide me with that. And, yeah, we'll hopefully be more on time next time for the podcast and not a month late. So,
well, it's been a while since the last one, so just think of it as bonus content. We're giving them more.
Bonus spaghetti. Because you liked it so much, you get more bonus spaghetti. No regretty.
No regretty. Never forgetty.
Nope. Okay, then. Say your salutations. Peace, motherfuckers.
Bye. See y'all later.